William Z. Foster, History of the Three Internationals. Chapter 44, The People's Front, 7th Congress. First heading, What Fascism Is. In view of the widespread confusion as to just what fascism signified, particularly with regard to the false liberal social democratic interpretation that it was a revolt of the middle class, Dimitrov paid considerable attention to the question of definition. He reiterated the famous analysis of the 13th Executive Committee of the Communist International meeting that, quote, fascism is the open terrorist dictatorship of the most reactionary, most chauvinistic, and most imperialist elements of finance capital, unquote. This placed the responsibility for this murderous movement where it belonged, and where the workers could understand it, in the offices of the monopolist bankers and capitalists of the world. Quote, fascism is not superclass government, nor a government of the petty bourgeoisie or the lumpen proletariat over finance capital. Fascism is the power of finance capital itself. It is the organization of terrorist vengeance against the working class and the revolutionary sections of the peasantry and intelligentsia. In foreign policy, fascism is jingoism in its crudest form, fomenting bestial hatred of other nations. Unquote. Fascism is not an evidence of the growing strength of capitalism, but of its developing weakness. It is an expression of the decay of the capitalist system. Quote, the fascist dictatorship of the bourgeoisie is a ferocious power, but an unstable one. Unquote. Fascism is not inevitable. Quote, the German working class could have prevented it, but in order to do so, it should have achieved a united anti-fascist proletarian front. The ascension to power of fascism is not an ordinary succession of one bourgeois government by another, but a substitution of one state form of class domination of the bourgeoisie, bourgeois democracy, by another form, open terrorist dictatorship, unquote. The policy of the Social Democrats leads to the victory of fascism, and they bear basic historical responsibility for the establishment of fascism in Germany and other countries. Fascism takes on various forms in the different countries in accordance with national peculiarities. The most savage type is that in Germany. Fascism wins mass support by a pretended defense of the people's immediate interests. Quote, fascism aims at the most unbridled exploitation of the masses. Fascism delivers up the people to be devoured by the most corrupt and venal elements. Fascism acts in the interests of the extreme imperialists, but it presents itself to the masses in the guise of champion of an ill-treated nation and appeals to outraged national sentiments.